When it comes to the Netflix series Stranger Things, there are a few things that can't be denied. First and foremost is that it's easily one of the biggest series in the world right now, something that no one expected when it arrived years back. It's also got one of the most loyal fan bases out there right now, and they're hungry for the fourth season, especially given how season 3 absolutely shocked people with the breakup of the Hawkins crew in certain ways. But where is it? Why hasn't it been released yet? Allow us to share with you the real reason why Stranger Things Season 4 hasn't been released yet. Be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. 6. 2020 and how it affected Stranger Things Season 4. When it comes right down to it, the real reason why Stranger Things Season 4 isn't out right now for the fans to enjoy is because of how 2020 changed the world as we know it. Because if you recall, things were going great in regards to filming for Season 4 when 2020 was starting, not unlike many other films and movies at the time. In fact, on Valentine's Day in 2020, a few weeks before things really started to get bad for the world, the team at Stranger Things went and released a teaser for Season 4. And it was there that the fanbase found out that one of their favorite characters in Chief Hopper was alive and in Russia. That naturally galvanized the fanbase in various ways, and they were eager to see more teases as filming continued. But as we noted, just a few weeks later, everything went down, and the season had to be stopped. 5. Pandemic restrictions. Because whether we wanted to acknowledge it or not, the world was under threat from a pandemic of global proportions. Something not seen on this scale in a very long time, say about 100 years. The contagious nature of the virus made it so that people could transmit it very easily, even if they didn't know they had the virus, because at first it would look like nothing more than a flu or cold, but then get much worse. What's more, it was stated that the young and the elderly were going to be the ones who might be the most at risk. And given that Stranger Things is comprised of many child and teen actors, that would be a major problem. But of course, then the restrictions for the lockdown came to pass, and everything that came from it meant that filming absolutely couldn't happen in any meaningful way. For months and months, the Stranger Things cast had to just sit and wait until they could be allowed to resume. It's unclear how much filming they had gotten done before the lockdown, clearly enough for a teaser, obviously, but it wasn't enough for a full season. 4. Returning to filming. Naturally, as things got somewhat better, filming was able to return in part, though not in whole, as we will explain. Gaten Matarazzo was interviewed and gave a rather blunt update on things in terms of how filming is going as of February. Slow, Gaten says when asked how production is coming along on Season 4. Slowly but surely, filming already is basically playing it by ear anyway, but the pandemic on top of it just makes scheduling a lot harder. Everyone's great, Gaten says. I actually had not gotten to see anybody really during the quarantine at all. There was a stretch of 6 months where we really weren't talking to each other a lot. We all had stuff going on at home, but that made going back a lot more fun. The minute we stepped back on set, we said, "We have the coolest job on planet Earth." Indeed, they did, but while they may have the coolest job, their filming was and still is heavily regulated by restrictions, both large and small. 3. Restrictions in filming. You might be confused by that statement, so we'll explain. You see, while filming was allowed to return, that didn't mean that they could just go about it willy-nilly. There had to be a lot of precautions taken to ensure that others didn't get sick and then spread the virus around more. Remember, we're still in the pandemic even though vaccines are being spread around. A great example of this is with fellow Netflix show in The Witcher. That series was also restricted by the pandemic and multiple times had to shut down because of the virus infecting certain staff, including one of the stars. So they had to go and take lots of measures to go and get filming back up, and you can bet the Stranger Things cast and crew are doing the same thing. What's more, it's not just about their precautions, it's about their filming locations. Various cities and states have their own way of handling the pandemic, and so the crew and cast have to adhere to those guidelines, else they can't film there. So thus, despite it being months of filming and such, progress likely isn't as far as you might think. 2. The bright side to this. It might be hard to hear all of this and think that there is a bright side to anything going on with the filming outside of it happening. But there is if you know where to look. Because Gaten also discussed the process of how Stranger Things gets made behind the scenes in a talk with Collider, and he revealed some things about the showrunners and the Duffer Brothers that might surprise you. The goal was never to film before the show was finished being written. That's just how it ended up happening the first 3 seasons. We have a certain number of episodes, around 5 or 6 out of 8 or 9 is usually what we'll start filming with once those are written, and the goal is the Duffer Brothers will direct and then write at home. They'll be at home, and that's when they'll write and manage their workload that way. And how it's always worked out is we're on like episode 4 or 5, and we haven't seen episode 6 and 7 yet, and we have no idea what's gonna happen, and they haven't written all of it yet. So the pressure is usually on, and when that happens, usually there's like a 2 to 3 week hiatus where we'll go home and take a break, and during that 2 to 3 weeks, Matt and Ross are home and they are writing, like nonstop panic writing. A bad way to run a show? Maybe, but that's never ideal. But honestly, for some reason, that spur of the moment, we gotta get this done, it seems to me like that's where a lot of their best work comes in. I don't know if it's the pressure, I don't know if it's them being up all night caffeinated and they just have really crazy, frazzled brains that can write really weirdly. And with COVID, things have changed to help with said panic writing. This year, because of COVID, there's no excuse for them to not have the season written completely. When we went in for our first table read, which was February of 2020, we expected to go right into filming, and it was gonna be the same situation. They were gonna start with episodes all the way up through 5, and we were probably gonna do the same hiatus. But COVID hit, and we only had like 6 episodes, and so they were like, we might as well finish. Gaten noted that having everything done helped the Duffers tremendously in terms of pressure and focus. I think they've been able to relish in directing in their day-to-day. There's nothing else distracting them other than what we're gonna do today while we're directing. And I asked them, do you guys sleep at night? They're like, literally, we dream about directing this show. We go to sleep and we have dreams that we're just directing this show. It takes up their entire minds when they're making this. So I think it's a good thing because now they can take their focus off of what the show is going to be about. And now that they know it, they can focus on how they're going to deliver. And I think it shows. So he clearly has faith in how things are going. And that's a good thing for sure. But of course, the big question now is, 1, will it release in 2021? That is the question that many would love answered for various reasons, not the least of which is to have something to look forward to. But in truth, we just don't have enough information on how everything is going down with the filming. We don't know how many episodes were filmed pre-pandemic and how many there are left to go. What's more, even if the filming gets done soon, they still have to do post-production via editing, SFX, and VFX, and so on. And for a show like Stranger Things that has monsters, a chilling soundtrack, and more, that's not something you can just do quickly. Not to mention Netflix will want to promote this highly anticipated season. So that might add a few weeks to things. Could it arrive in 2021? Sure, without a doubt. But when in 2021? That's something that can't easily be answered. So what do you think? What do you think of this look at Stranger Things Season 4 and how things shook down in regards to filming, production, and how things are likely to go from here? Do you think that filming will wrap up soon for Season 4? If so, when do you think is a reasonable target date for release? Let us know in the comments below. Be sure to subscribe, and we'll see you next time on the channel.